Hey, do you guys know what time it is? That's right, it's time to have a look at a new Unity release. Unity 2018.3 is now in public beta, and I definitely encourage you to check it out. There'll of course be a link to where you can download it in the description. Also, this video is sponsored by Unity. We've worked together to make sure we cover as much as possible. Now there's a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. Here's what's new in Unity 2018.3. So jumping right into it, Unity now supports isometric 2D tilemaps. For those of you who don't know what isometric means, it's basically a different way of making perspective. An isometric object has all three dimensions drawn at the same length rather than shortening them depending on the position of the observer. This is an art style often used for both 3D and 2D games and can now be achieved pretty easily using the tilemap system. You simply create your isometric tiles and start painting with them. And the tilemap renderer is capable of doing per tile sorting, which opens up the possibility of having your character walk behind buildings, trees, or other objects. Moving on, the new and improved prefab workflows will be part of 2018.3. I've been trying them out using a preview build, and I must say that so far I'm in love with these tools. If you're interested in learning how to use the new workflows, we've covered them in a separate video, which I definitely recommend you check out. Plus, Unity also has some demos available on their website. In this release, Unity has also added a new tool to their profiler, memory profiling. As the name suggests, this tool makes it a lot easier to understand what's happening with memory in your game. The current profiler already shows a summary of all allocations for an asset, but the new memory profiler gives the possibility to break down each allocation, which greatly helps optimize memory usage. In other news, Unity is upgrading from NVIDIA PhysX 3.3 to 3.4. The upgrade speeds up operations such as raycasting, shape sweeping, and mesh cooking to run up to twice as fast, which is a lot. It also improves support for detecting collisions with fast rotating objects and adds enhanced determinism. Also, the default scripting runtime is now .NET 4X. The old .NET 3.5 runtime has been deprecated and support for it will soon be dropped. On top of that, projects that are targeting the .NET 4X scripting runtime will also be able to use the open source Roslyn compiler. This means that we get access to the latest C# 7.2 language features and that compilation times will be reduced, which is of course always very welcome. Unity 2018.3 also ships with an update to the terrain system. I think the changes to the UI and the tools themselves are fairly minimal. Some of the painting modes and settings are organized a bit differently. However, I've heard that bigger changes are coming in version 2019.1. Also, this release does come with some really nice performance improvements, as well as support for the lightweight and HD render pipeline. So definitely a step in the right direction here. In terms of the navigation system, nav meshes in prefabs can now be baked in isolation from within prefab mode. And the navmesh query.raycast method can now be called in jobs if you want to trace a straight path between two positions on the navmesh. 2018.3 also features a number of improvements to the HD render pipeline. One of the main ones for me is probably mesh decals, which are just really handy. And we have a new shader to play around with, the stack lit shader. Now, I'm in no way a graphics engineer, but just when playing around with it, it seems very similar to the standard lit shader, except it adds a bunch of more advanced rendering features like subsurface scattering and transmission, and overall just makes it more configurable. And finally, artists now have greater control over reflections and light probes, which helps minimize errors in lighting. 2018.3 also comes with some editor improvements. Unity now has a unified settings window for project settings and preferences. The new window is dockable and searchable, which makes it much more convenient to quickly find and change settings. Also, we now have the ability to close and scroll through open tabs. Now, as always, the particle team has a bunch of new features for the Shuriken particle system. Particle lights now support real-time global illumination. You can now flip particle meshes just like with billboards. The particle standard shader has been made default. The external forces module has been improved along with the texture sheet animation module, and the list goes on. A really cool addition is ordered mesh shape emission, which allows you to create cool effects around meshes like these. Also, the new ring buffer mode makes it easier to create persistent effects like footprints and bullet holes by keeping particles alive after their lifetime expires until they're replaced. And finally, with this new version, Unity will be expiring the old legacy particle system. At this point though, I can't imagine anyone being sad about that, since the new particle system is better in pretty much every way. Now this release simply had way too many features to cover in this video. Here's a list of some of them. Finally, 2018.3 comes with a number of smaller changes and bug fixes. For a complete overview, check out the release notes using the link in the description. And as always, I encourage you to join the beta and try out the new version. After all, being part of the beta program is super helpful both for us developers and the Unity devs. Plus you get to try out new and exciting stuff. And joining the beta is really easy. Simply click the link in the description to get started. On that, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video. Is the video over? But I still want more screen time. The upgrade speeds up operations such as raycasting, shape sweeping, and meth cooking. Sweeping? Speeds up sweeping incredibly. It's a wrap! 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 Thanks to all the awesome Patreon supporters who donated in July, and a special thanks to Andrew Kilinenko, Art Armin, Obrisi, James P., Robert Bund, Corey Jackson, Nick Krask, Bruins Cat, Larry Tweed, Gregory Pierce, Naoki Iwasaki, Rob Farron, Erasmus, Tima Folderbach, Kirill Swiderski, James Rogers, Benton Reed-Smith, Leo Lisette, Derek Heemskirk, Bang Sulong, Faisal Marify, Dennis Sullivan, Clinton Fitzgewer, Cyborg Mummy, Maxi Burned, True VR Systems, Cheetah 3D, Infinity PBR, and Alexander Blair. You guys rock!